Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
Welcome to a Coffee with Karen, a cup of positivity with just a sprinkling of woo-woo. So I'm your host, Karen Roberts. I am a holistic weight loss and transformation coach, really, and I focus on all three aspects: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual perspective. And that's really what our show is about each week. So each of our guests will be giving their perspective from a either or combination. And our guest today definitely is going to be focusing on all three perspectives. So for the listeners, can you explain a little bit about who you are, Tiffany, what you do, and share a little bit of your story?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So my name is Tiffany Lovell, and mental health expert. And I guess just a little bit of my background is I've actually surrendered a little over 80 pounds just doing the emotional and mental work. No diet plan, no workout at the gym plan, but truly just like looking inside and being able to heal those broken places. And so I'm super passionate about helping women be able to connect to that part of themselves as well, to find out why the weight's even there in the first place. Because if you don't know, then you're just treating symptoms as you go. So I love that we get to have this conversation about it today, because it's something I'm super passionate about too.
I love that. And I mean, I've got even myself personally, I mean, I'm very aware that an emotional eater, as I am. So even as the coach, I would say through this last craziness that is going on for the last 2 years, there's been a lot going on. I've lost my father, and I could tell that I was going down that route because obviously these challenges, I was dealing with them with some bad habits. But it's interesting, isn't it, that at least when you have the tools in your toolkit, at least you don't have to stay there too long.
Right.
And I think that's the trouble is
Yeah.
half of it's awareness, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
so how did you get into this side of things, Tiffany?
I mean, I think I was a yo-yo dieter, right? Like did all the things, everything that normal people would lose weight on, I gained weight on. And it super frustrating. And doctors couldn't figure out. I've had my blood drawn more times than I can tell you, just to try to convince the doctor that there's something wrong with my thyroid or that there's something out of balance, only to find every single time you're perfectly healthy. We don't know. Maybe this is, I had one doctor say, maybe it is, and you just need to be okay with how your body is. And I thought, well, that's kind of a terrible thing to say. Like, I'm not just going to be okay with how my body is. Like, I know there's something going on. So it just kind of really moved into, well, if it isn't diet and it isn't exercise and there isn't a medication that I can take, then it's got to be internal. Like, it's got to be much deeper. And what am I carrying? I talk about with my clients being the bag lady, right? Like, if you imagine I went through the airport one time and I have 5 kids and I'm pulling all their suitcases and I've got all their backpacks and all my stuff. And I was truly the bag lady walking through the airport like that. Well, how many of us are doing that emotionally and we don't even realize all the stuff that we're carrying, whether for ourselves or for someone else, but we're just of all of the stuff and we get used to it. We just keep doing it.
Yeah, sure. And as you said earlier, I mean, it's if you're not aware, then how can you change this? But so there'll be some people listening thinking, oh, that's not me. But you don't actually know until you start asking the right questions, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, like what you were talking about this last year and a half or 2 years of things that we've been going through. Yeah, I've been in my own place going through some things that And I so much love helping other people than dealing with my own stuff. It's so much easier to be able to support someone else than to, turn the magnifying glass back inwards. And so I had a coach that said, you know what, I think you make a way better coach than you do a client because this is really, really hard for you. And I think that with certain levels of capabilities, once you have those tools, you just can't be mad anymore. You've got nobody to blame, nowhere to point it except for right here. And nobody wants to point it at their own self. So, but it's about that moment where you're like, all right, I'm all in. This isn't what I want anymore. So I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah, sure. And there you go. I think you've just said it there, right there. It's about that moment of a decision.
Yep.
Like everything just starts with that decision that, okay, I'm not happy. Things have got to change. And that's funny that you say about being the coach, because at the end of the day, just because we're coaches, right, we're still human. Hello.
Right.
And I'm far from perfect, and most of my listeners know that I do have a little bit of a tendency to like a glass of prosecco. And the trouble is that sometimes those go hand in hand because your sort of willpower goes out the window. And what I had found personally after being 25 over 25 years in the fitness industry, I actually realized the realization that I didn't have fantastic self-discipline, because I suppose for a quarter of a century I was being paid to turn up to teach my class, so of course I'm going to be there on time,
Right.
because otherwise I've got 50 people that are going to be very, not very happy, right, if I don't turn up for the class on time. So as much as I absolutely loved it, I had that level of accountability, and all of a sudden when I left, I didn't have that accountability anymore. And I was just like my clients, making up all these excuses as to why I'm not going and doing a workout. I'm busy being busy. Excuse me. And
Yep.
it was a huge realization that actually I think we all need
Yeah.
a bit of, it's not even so much about the guidance, right? You know what you need to do, but sometimes we all need a bit of a kick up the backside to
Right.
make us stick
I
to it.
call it, with my clients, I call it the queen slap. Sometimes they just need to have a queen themselves, get their crown back on and do the things they're supposed to do. So sometimes I need that. I need that queen slap to remind me, hey, this isn't going to get you what you want. So knock it off.
We all need it. And I suppose so for you, the same. The more you're coaching, I mean, the
Yep.
beauty is of being a coach is like you're reinforcing all these, even the mindset stuff, you're reinforcing it into your own head. So
Yeah.
I know you sort of, the title of today's show was How to Stand in Your Light. So can you explain a little bit about how that's come about and what that exactly is?
Well, yeah. So if you really think about a child, right, that's learning how to walk for the first time, and they get up and then they fall down and they stand back up and then they fall back down. There's never, ever a point where that child goes, never mind. This is just too hard. There just isn't. Like, they just keep going because there's this light, there's this fire inside of them that this is my next step. This is who I am. I'm meant to be a walker. And then they go to running, but yet some learn that that's just not who we are, and that that's not okay, and that we should play small, or we should diminish that fire, or we might make other people uncomfortable, or it is too hard or too scary because it's scary for someone else, so it should be scary for us. And so a lot of what I teach is really learning to stand in the light that you were born with, like reclaim that light supposed to be. It's already in you. It's just about letting all those other pieces go.
Awesome. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? That there you go. I mean, a baby doesn't give up, but why do you think, somehow something's happened throughout, and I suppose I'm generalizing here, but I'm sure UK, America is going to be similar kind of upbringing. Somewhere along the line, we have been conditioned to stop following our dreams or our specific goals. And like you say, why do you think that we do tend to give up? Well, we can give up so easily.
I think it's totally, based on the environment that we're brought up in. So if you have a mom or dad that, you're a little child moving towards a little insect on the ground and the mom says, don't touch that. That's bad. That's scary. And all of a sudden you develop this fear of this insect that you never even gave a second thought to before. You just wanted to touch it. But because mom or this adult figure in your life is scared of it, then you should now be scared of it. You have no idea why you were even ever scared of spiders. But now as an adult, you can't even be in the same room. Like, burn the house down. I can't have a spider in my house because it's just too scary. So I think, that's a small example of it. But again, like adult figures in your life, if they didn't ever break out of their comfort zone, if they didn't try new things, if they were timid, if they weren't bold, if they weren't assertive, you learn to more passive. You learn to be a people pleaser because that's what you were surrounded with.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it's our own fault, really. It's the way I don't know what's happened over the years. I mean, things are improving, obviously, children were seen and not heard years ago, or,
Right.
women were put, so things are definitely changing. But I suppose with each different generation, we try to change the things that maybe our parents either told us to do or told us not to do. And I suppose it's, we do it with love, right? We do it. We sometimes put our fears on our children, not because that's what we want to do, but because at the time we think we're protecting them, right? So even talk about we're doing it with love.
Yeah.
However, the knock-on effect actually could be a negative thing, right?
Oh yeah. My teenager, she was talking to her friends the other day, and her friend was talking about how her mom's life plan for her was, graduate school, go to college, get yourself a job, and just do the things. Like, it was systematic order. And she asked, this friend then asked my daughter, she said, Emma, what's your plan? And she's like, I don't know. There's just so many things I could do that I'm just going to choose. Like, I'm just going to try them all. And the friend was like, are you kidding? Like, you need to have a path. You need to have a plan. And that was a totally different concept for my daughter, because I'm not teaching that. I'm teaching, try everything, figure out who you are, go everywhere, be everything that you want to be, and then decide what your life path is. And this friend was like stressed out for her because that was not something she'd been raised with. She was raised in a very like, this is the security. You go to school and then you get the job and then you settle down and you do the job. And my daughter had no context for that because that's just not language we use at home.
Because you're not living in fear. I mean,
No.
and that's how I see that. And I do, I get it. There'll be some parents that I'm of a similar thinking, and there will be parents that would be absolutely horrified at the way I bring up my children, because it is, my focus is, as long as they're happy, do what you want.
Right.
Don't think, and again, I can understand, it comes from a place of love. These people are thinking ahead. Maybe they've struggled in life. And so then they think, right, okay, the only way forward is this, and have a plan and get the qualifications and do this, do that. And that's the way to do it. So I know, again, it comes from that. But again, it's I suppose, when we are more at peace with ourselves and have faith, and this is, I suppose, the spiritual side. I'm not talking about religion here, guys, whatever you choose to believe, but faith is just, believing something that you can't see, touch, or whatever.
Right.
But having faith that things will work out. Things will work out. Allow them to have their journey.
Yeah.
And right. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't try things, how do you know you're not going to enjoy it? Or the sad thing is, so many of these kids go to uni, spend, I'm sure it's probably worse over there, but and here, they get so much debt.
Yes.
And then they don't even know if they're going to enjoy that career. And I think, oh, that's such a shame.
Or they don't even end up in it because they can't afford the student loans for it. And to get into that career, it doesn't even pay to cover those student loans. Like, that's the sad thing.
It is. So really and this is why I suppose you're the same. It's all about having balance between the mental, the physical, and the spiritual.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And trusting in yourself and your own abilities, and try everything, and then you can focus on what you want later. So I know you're on the spiritual side of things. How would you explain to the listeners why the number one, which definitely start my day with this, why gratitude is so important as, I suppose, the number one mindset to keep throughout your day, if possible?
Well, so gratitude is actually a secret weapon for anxiety. So you can be on medication for anxiety because like you need to be stabilized or have it minimized a little bit. But if you really peel the layers back to what anxiety is a feeling of out of control. I can't control the world that I'm in or what's happening to these things around me. And so I'm anxious. I'm overwhelmed. There's this massive out of. Well, gratitude is this really powerful tool to use of look how much control you actually do have. Look at, I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for this thing. I'm grateful. You keep going into deeper layers of what gratitude really is. And anxiety cannot exist in the same place where gratitude is. And so what I am not saying is go and get off your medication and start a gratitude journal by any means. But I am saying that the practice of gratitude will allow you to be able to start to minimize that anxiety in a way that your medication cannot, because you are controlling your mind so much better rather than treating a symptom that your body can't get ahead of ever. When your mind can be peaceful about what it has and what it can control and where it's existing, then it starts to be able to have a better level of a coping mechanism with things that it maybe can't control. And it can see it's okay that I can't control that because look what I can control. It starts to have a different perspective. There's a different vantage point when you operate from that space of gratitude. So I love using it daily with clients.
Absolutely. And I mean, it goes even beyond that, isn't it? It is the fact that, yes, you cannot feel gratitude and feel anything negative, whether that's anxious, fear, stressed, because the energies don't mix, right? They're not in the same frequency. So, gratitude for anything, right, it's such a powerful tool, and something that, again, is so underestimated because I suppose people may see it as a little bit woo-woo. Well, it's not. It's right. I mean, we know how we are with our own children, right? If our children are grateful for what we give to them, you want to give more, right? There's this natural want to give more. When they show no gratitude, what do you feel?
I want to take it all away.
So, I mean, it is, the way I do see all of that is it's just a natural law of the universe. And the whole point of, why wouldn't you want to feel gratitude at the end of the day? Why wouldn't? Because that whole feeling place, that feeling space, well, it feels good, right? It doesn't feel bad. So why would we not want to be having those feelings?
Right.
And it's something that we can do anytime. And even when you're feeling really low or things in your perspective aren't going 100% right, there's always something to feel grateful for. And I love that. And I do feel that's totally underestimated, or the power of it is totally underestimated. So with you, with your program, so what you're teaching women how to lose weight, with just more of a mindset? How does your program work, Tiffany?
So I initially, about 4 years ago, started out teaching women exactly how I had lost weight and was maintaining that loss. And so that's who I was attracting, is women who wanted to lose weight. And then I had an experience with and she did not need to lose weight at all. But the more that she talked, she was just, I hate myself. I hate where I am. Like, I'm super successful in my business, but I just don't love who I am outside of that success. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's not just women like that need to lose weight. It's every woman that needs to learn how to love her body and love who she is inside of her body. And so I kind of did a little bit of some rebranding and remarketing to see if I could appeal to other women, not just the ones who wanted to lose weight, but the ones who really wanted connection at a deeper level. And that has absolutely taken off. It was this just untapped secret little group of women that I kind of just had brushed over. And now it's beautiful. So women come in and they lose weight in my program. There's no diet, there's no exercise, there's no meal plans. I don't do any of that. They'll come in, and if that's what their intention is, then they will lose weight. There's some women who come in and they just feel amazing and beautiful at the end. So everybody has kind of a different takeaway, just depending on what their purpose was for coming into the program. But it's 6 months, and we do deep healing work, and then we rebuild. And I use the analogy of, if you're going to put new carpet into your room, you can't put new carpet on top of old carpet. It just doesn't work that way. You have to tear the old carpet and all the old stuff out first, and then we install the new carpet. And that's what this program is about, is being able to get rid of all that old stuff that isn't serving you, that you don't want in your new beautiful space. So then we can reinstall what you do want, and then live with that new flooring, that new carpet, or these new beliefs about who you really are. And so it's beautiful. They learn how to connect to each other. They learn how to trust. They learn how to open up. And then they step into, it's called Stand in the Light. So they really learn that fire and that light from being a little child. They draw and pull that out
Awesome.
At the end of the 6 months. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it's a bit of a healing journey, really, again, from the mental, physical, spiritual. Because as you said, us women, we tend to be making poor food choices or whatever when we're not feeling too great, when our vibration, if you like, is lower. You know that if you go home at the end of the day and you've had a rough day and not feeling too great, really you just want to get on the sofa and, oh, woe is me, self-pity, and get the ice cream out, or whatever your go-to is. Whereas when you are feeling better about yourself, you are energized, you are more motivated, you are going to be a bit clearer, there's a bit more clarity to actually make the better food choices. It doesn't have to be a specific diet. So I love that. Again, it does seem to be a common theme. I think people are finally coming to the realization that we've got to look at all aspects. It's not just one thing that got you there,
right? And
it's not going to be just one thing that's going to get you out.
Well,
so I know the second thing you were sort of talking about was really, and this does seem to be a bit of a buzzword at the moment. I don't know whether it's been around more in the States, but definitely in the UK, I would say the last few years, the word mindfulness, maybe it's taken over from meditation. I don't know, but it seems to be more of the sort of key thing. So how does that fit in with what you do?
Well, I really invite the women to eating mindfully. And so we talk about, I don't care what you eat. I will never question or, judge what you're eating, to look at what you're eating to see if it's really serving you. And so we talk about this idea of, if you are wandering into the kitchen and you are gravitating towards salty foods, pause before you eat that chips and guacamole or chips and salt, popcorn, whatever it is, and ask yourself, where do I feel out of control in my life? Because if you're craving salty foods, you feel out of control. And so salt helps you to feel more in control quicker, like it's just a filler. But if you walk into the kitchen and you're wanting something sweet, then it means that you're craving an emotional connection. And so I ask the clients, but before you put that thing in your mouth, pause long enough to say, okay, what's really happening here? And give yourself the 5-10 seconds to just think about and be mindful about what you're about to do and the real reason behind it. And then decide, do I still need to eat this thing, or do I need to go process something? Because most of the time, I will say 90% of the time, you don't need to eat that thing. It was more about the just numbing that needed to happen in order for you to get through whatever that feeling was. And once you've identified to go and heal it, you don't need that food.
Right. So really what you're saying there is a lot of people will just be reactive
Yep.
without any critical thinking going on there. They're just reacting to that instant.
Yeah.
And then what you're asking them to start to get into the habit of doing is really figuring out, do they really need it, or is that trying to solve
Right.
an issue that could be solved in another way? So
Right.
I mean, mindfulness, I think that is so key, because again, that's all linked to all our habits. Everybody's driven by these autopilot things in their life. So even having that, but getting in the habit of reaching for the poor choices.
Right.
Whereas the only way to break that habit then is going to be to actually pause. And I love that. I mean, that's even down to, all the older not old wives' tales, but things your mum would say, count to 10, or
Right.
because again, it's getting you into that. Okay, let's use our critical part of our mind to actually think, like, are we hungry? Are we mad? Or whatever it is.
Right.
That pause. And it's funny that no matter what the subject, now I say I've been talking with guests over the past year, there is a real common thread, whether that's for losing weight, whether that's for anger issues, whether that's for depression. The whole thing about this is, or the whole, the solutions for it all are very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so there you go. I think having that, it's linked to everything that we do, right?
Yeah.
So being mindful, having a pause, it's all fantastic advice, so that rather than you just going for what you're used to going to, which might not be serving you, you have a chance, an opportunity there to, is that really for me? Or do I really want the result that is going to give me?
Right. Well, if we can learn how to take the emotion out of the food, and food can just be what food is meant to be, which is to nourish our body, and we learn to deal with the emotion, then we're so much healthier, and not just physically, but mentally. Like, for many people, food is a drug, a big drug. And then it's, well, I have to eat because I have to live. So now I have to eat a lot so that I can live a lot. Like, that's become the connection. And I mean, you think about it, first birthdays, at least here in the United States, it's, you get your own cake and we're going to all watch you eat that whole cake. And from 1 year old, you're learning that, look how special I am. And this is my own. And they're giving me this because I matter, and look how good it is. And so then every single holiday and every single special event is tied to food. So we learn food is special. Food makes me special. And so in order for me to feel special or to feel belonging or connection, I need food. And so then it just keeps going. If we can separate that back out, then we don't need that anymore. We can just deal with the feeling and enjoy the food for what it is.
Couldn't agree with you more. It's amazing. I mean, I'm a real, sugar is the enemy. And it is addictive. And there you go. It's there's a mental addiction, like just as you said. Yeah, no, we're the same here. Children's parties. It's all the, we even cut the crusts off the sandwiches, for crying out loud, and it's all jelly and ice cream or birthday cake, and everything's a reward, isn't it? Oh, you've done well at school, let's go out for ice cream. You've done,
yes,
you passed your exam, or let's go and do. And it's so that is, again, until we're aware of that. So now the listeners are, I didn't think of it like that. Now you can change things or look for different, because there's so many other ways that you can reward yourself. But yeah, there's a huge connection between, because it's a mental addiction as well as a physical, there is a
Right.
physical addiction. Sugar's more addictive than cocaine.
Right.
It is there is that addiction. So, for some people that won't be quite so easy to completely break, but really, I love what you're saying is, yeah, you don't have to follow a diet and go so that strict, but be mindful. That is going to be the first step. So that you can so you're in more control. Love that. So you're in
Right.
more control so that you can make a better choice,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, this all links back. All these things, it is down to, and I love that you're really talking about. This is all to improve women's confidence.
Yeah.
Right. So that your sort of that's the goal? Is that your goal with this program?
Um, I mean, I definitely think that's a byproduct of it. My goal is to help women like live their life. Everybody has a purpose. Like you and I are doing exactly what our purpose is by showing up the way that we show up. This type of work isn't for everybody, but there is something for everyone. And my goal is to get women out of that darkness into that space where they can contribute to the world in whatever beautiful ways that looks like for them. That they don't have to be stuck. They don't have to be weighed down. They don't have to be the bag ladies. They can just show up unapologetically and own who they are. And the world needs women who will do that. The world needs women who will honor the beautiful gifts that they have inside of them. And that I get super jazzed about helping them wake up to that power.
Awesome. But why do you think, what's going on? Why do you think there's so many women out there that actually need that? Where is it going wrong, or what sort of age group? I mean, where's the process breaking down that women, obviously not all, but some women are getting stuck and not following their passions, and then obviously ending up not feeling great, which will have a knock on, I agree, which does have a knock on to how you feel about yourself. There's definitely going to be weight gain. So where do you think this is stemming from?
I think it's the world's idea of who women should be. And many women play in masculine energy. And we weren't born to be in masculine energy. We were born to be in feminine energy. Masculine is about the one. It's the projects. It's the focus, the to-do lists, the management, that critical thinking, those kind of things, which we need some of that to be able, I mean, as CEOs of businesses, we need to be able to do some of those things. But feminine energy is the connection energy. It's the healing. It's the nurturing. It's the collaboration. If we're going to heal this world or communities, it's going to be because women step into that really beautiful feminine energy to nurture and collaborate and connect. And I think women get scared of that because it is rejected. It's oftentimes really rejected and seen as not normal, or too much, or too big, or too hard, or all of those things. And so we pull way back to that masculine energy, which is the one, focusing just on ourselves and just on whatever we need to complete at that time, instead of feminine energy. Group. It's the masses. It's the impact, the ripple effect. And so I really believe that we play small because it makes other people uncomfortable for us to be who we are. And when we can heal that, well, we can change massive things.
Wow, that's really, I mean, yeah, I'm inclined to agree. It's such a shame, isn't it? And it is quite, well, eye-opening, I suppose. And then that is why people like yourself, it's all about creating communities.
Yeah.
Because we, at the end of the day, it's do you find that some women, it's difficult for them to actually ask for help because it's sort of almost seen as,
yes,
well, you don't need help because that means you're a failure? Well, no, hello,
right.
it doesn't quite work like that. And actually, don't we work better? Collaborate. Yeah, I agree. I suppose the male, I haven't thought of it in that way. But there is, people are living too much in competition rather than realizing that actually collaborating is the way to go. And there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
So there is no such thing as competition unless you're competing against yourself to just be slightly better person today than you were yesterday. That's the only competition, right?
Yeah.
So communities, do you see that that's what's happening? Maybe more so since, the craziness that's been going on. Do you find that women are, joining more and more sort of communities for that reason?
I think the women who are brave are. I think they're the ones who like have this desire for it to be different, that they're stepping out of the normal or the mold that society says this is how it should be. And I'll tell you that when we first start a program, it's 6 months long. So when they come in, they're like, 6 months, this is a long time, Tiffany. Like, this is half a year. I'm like, I know, but trust me, in 6 months, you're going to be like, that went by so fast. And a lot of these women that come in the very beginning, they're like, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to share anything. I'm just going to come in and do the work and I'm going to slip right back out. But it's those moments where they realize, oh my gosh, I'm safe to fall apart here. These women all get me. They understand me. Like there's this sisterhood in trauma and in heaviness that they realize it's okay for me to take off my armor. It's okay for me to let this guard down, to connect and to be in this community. And how really beautiful things happen when women allow themselves to be vulnerable in those kind of spaces. And so, I mean, I would definitely challenge anybody who is not, or feeling like, they're sitting in masculine energy and they're about the one thing, and to find a place where they can feel at home in. My group on Facebook is called The Gathering Place.
Wow.
Because I want women to gather. I want them to feel safe to be there. And we just share and we connect there, and then they can move on to be in one of the programs if they want to. But I want them to know that as women, this is what we do. We gather. And that's one of the best gifts we can give to each other.
Yeah, sure. Lovely. So if there's women out there and, they are feeling alone, maybe they're not feeling great about themselves, maybe they don't even know what their passion is, because that can be half the trouble. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, I don't even know. We talk about learning to, the importance of learning to love yourself. Now, I mean, I'm sure there's some women even would find that, well, that's being, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't love myself. I've got to love everybody else, and I come last, right? Do you feel that women tend to put
100%.
themselves last?
Yeah. My post yesterday even said, like, listen, ladies, put your oxygen mask on first before you try and help anybody else. Like, you just do not have the capacity to go around rescuing everyone else, or you will jeopardize your ability to show up, because we're just not made that way. We're just not. So yes, putting ourselves first is not a selfish act. It's about, if I care for someone else, I've got to care for me so that I can care for someone else.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's, again, I suppose that is how women have been, perceived throughout the part. We're the mothers, the wives, the girl, whatever. You've got to be doing everything for everybody else. And I do know a lot of women that would feel deal with feelings of guilt.
yes.
If they dared, go and, I don't know, go and have a facial, go and have a massage, go and take time out for themselves,
Right.
whatever that looks like. And I mean, it's again, it's all backwards, isn't it? We've been conditioned to think that is selfish, and everybody comes first, and I come last. So how do you put that across to women to say, come on, it's okay, take some time out for self-care, whatever that looks like to you?
One of the quotes that makes me like, oh, the nails on the chalkboard feeling, when I hear give then receive, it does that same thing to me, because then women take that very literally. It's better to give than receive. If I'm going to be seen as a good woman, I need to give, 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 give. And I shouldn't receive, because then that means that I'm not being a good woman. I'm not doing things. And this could be in religious cultures. It could be in family cultures, just community culture. But that idea of it's better to give than receive. And that being said, I definitely teach my kids, at Christmas time, let's serve our siblings and let's give our siblings gifts and let's be kind to others. But at the end of the day, it's still very important to ask for what you want, because you are also one of those people. Like, you are also someone who matters. And when you stop thinking that you matter, you are automatically teaching other people around you that they don't matter either. Because if you are giving and now they're doing all the receiving, well, then they're over there going, look, I'm receiving, and so I'm not a good woman. So it's just this like crazy ping pong ball mess of chaos. So how you break that is you allow yourself to start to receive, and you give yourself permission to, you know what, I can say no. Do I want to be on the PTO? No. Am I great at it? Absolutely. But do I have to be there? No. It's okay to say no. I don't have to say yes to all the things. I don't have to show up in all the places. I can start to go, this just isn't serving me right now. Just like food. This isn't serving me. This isn't going to help me get where I want to be. I mean, it's the exact same principle. This isn't going to get me where I want to go. It's okay to say no. I can detach from this situation and I'm still totally okay.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. And it's funny, isn't it? It's so many women, it's even down to not being able to receive a compliment.
Right. They're very quick to go, oh no, you are.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're so beautiful. You are amazing. You're so great at what you do. They totally dismissed it or deflected it away.
Yeah. And that's definitely part of it. Or actually that is it, but just in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Is that we've been conditioned to, it's rude to somehow it's rude to accept a compliment. I mean, it's crazy. Right. Whereas, like you say, I think that is definitely what it is. It's been ingrained in us. We've got to give. But, again, you realize after a while that all these cliche sayings, actually, they're all 100% true. Yeah. They are all these old adages, you can't give from an empty cup. Yeah, right. That's 100% correct. Just, some of these things can seem a little bit cheesy to some people, but they are 100% right. So it's allowing yourself or giving yourself permission to receive, whether that's a compliment, whether that means that's time for me, just time out, 30 minutes, walk around the park by myself without having to deal with the kids and do dinner and
lock the bathroom door. That's my big thing. Like, oh my gosh, I am allowed to lock the bathroom door.
It's funny. It is the little thing. Oh, I'm so glad my girls are older. Oh, I'm past all that. Oh my goodness. But I can remember it well.
Right. I was going to say, I did an interview a few weeks ago with a man, just that might give a little context for this conversation. And he was asking me, how I thought I compared to other mental health experts. And I said, I think I'm the best. I think I'm the best at what I do. I think I'm the most qualified and I have the most skills that I bring to the table. And he was super caught off guard by that. And he's like, wow, aren't we sure of ourselves? And I said, wouldn't you rather have somebody in your corner who is absolutely sure of themselves than to have somebody who's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good. And I know my program and no, like if somebody's going to take me through the depths of hell that I've been through in my life, I want to know dang well that she's really good at what she does. Absolutely. And so to show up that way, but that's a cultural thing. He was completely caught off guard because culturally I should have been super humble and been like, I mean, I do a good job. And I totally froze. He just didn't know how to respond to this level of like, yeah, absolutely. I think that I'm the best at what I do and that I get the most incredible results because of how I show up. And so that was a fun little moment to see him like squirm in his chair.
And there you've just said it there. I mean, yeah, what we supposed to be all humble and meek and
Right.
no, own it, girl. Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go, listeners. Tiffany is the best
Right.
at
Yes,
what
I
she
am.
does. So, ladies, if you need a little bit of, I don't know, motivation, a bit of boost, a bit of community, you want to heal, you're ready. Is this the right time? There you go. Again, I'm going to come out with another cliche. When you're ready, the teacher will appear. So if anybody's out there that's listening and they feel that, yeah, come on, enough.
Yeah.
This is my time. 2022 is just around the corner. Come on, if not now, then when? I mean, I could come out with all these cliches.
Right.
all day. But there, it is. It's like that. How long do you want to be stuck playing small? It's not in your best interest. It's not in your children's best interest. It's not in your partner's. If you have a partner, and regardless,
Right.
but it is, when is it going to be time to actually, I love that, how to stand in your light.
Yeah.
Awesome. So on top of that, obviously, you are an author. Is that correct? If you could
I am.
share
Yes.
with the listeners a little bit about your book.
So I actually have a book coming out in 2022 as well, but our book is on Amazon. It's called Beautiful in My Skin. And it's all about just loving who you already are. You don't have to change anything about you to be beautiful, but it's just about owning the gift that you already are. So, like I said, you can find that on Amazon, and it was a fun journey to be able to create that. I collaborated with other women to be able to put that together and hear their stories about how they learned to feel beautiful in their skin. So it was a special project.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
you've got another book coming out next year. So
I do. Yeah. So this one, it's called Brave Enough. And like, this gives me goosebumps, like big goosebumps, to think about helping women be brave enough to say, I am worth it, or brave enough to take that step to break the cycle in their family, or to, walk away from addiction, or to get out of an abusive relationship, or whatever it is that you just have to be brave enough to get started, and then the pieces will come together. And so that will be coming out in this next year.
Fantastic. And there you go. I mean, that just goes back round to, I think, the first thing that I said at the beginning of this show was it all starts with just simply making a decision.
Yep.
And, and I love that. You just need to be brave enough. And it's, again, like what you were sort of saying earlier, and we were saying that, for some women, it seems so difficult to actually ask for help. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's no shame in asking for help. None of us, and I am a believer in this, is that nobody does, gets there by themselves. We all need help in different ways, whether it's just a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen, whatever it is. Everybody moves ahead. They don't do it by themselves, do they?
Right. Mm-mm.
And again, and that goes the same for us, the coaches. We all need coach. I mean, I've got my own coach.
Yep.
We all need it, because we're all human, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to use the expression, you can't see the label when you're inside the jar. And so we all need somebody on the outside to read the label for us and tell us what's going on and what they see, so that we can improve.
Love that analogy. And it's so easy to get caught up, especially when we are in the lower vibrations. We just can't see, again, you can't see the wood through the trees, all these things. It's so correct. And having, having a bird's eye view on everyone. It's sometimes very difficult for ourselves to actually step back and see big picture. But as you said, somebody else can see that bigger picture that you can't.
Right.
And none of us, and it's, we're human. We're pack animals, aren't we? We do better in a community. We do better with a little bit of support. So with your program, you have, so for depending on where you're either watching or listening this, if it's YouTube, the links will be down below. But if you're just on the radio or the podcast, how do people find you, Tiffany? Do you have a website?
I do. I actually have a gift for your listeners.
Ooh.
So this is something we put together, and so we made this beautiful 35-page journal for your listeners, and it's called A Year to Remember. And what it's going to do is take you through this past year of what you've experienced, where you are, did you reach goals, who are you now versus who you were when you started. And then it takes you into 2022 and starts to plan out, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? So you can really start thinking in creation mode, and then think about what's possible. And then at the very end of the journal is an opportunity to reach out to me. And I really believe in interviewing the person that you're going to work with. And so this is your opportunity to sneak over here and have a conversation with me to see if I'm your right person to take you through whatever the next steps are. So you can snag this journal at www.reclaiminglightgift.com, and you'll get immediate access to the PDF. So just go and
fantastic.
That.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that, because I think you've gone sort of a step ahead, because, coming up to the new year, everyone's like planning the next year. But do we stop? And just for a moment, we don't have to stay there, right? Especially if it wasn't a great place. Depends. If it was a good place, stay there for a little bit, because you're going to bring more. But if it wasn't a great place, we just need to acknowledge where we were,
right,
so that we can see our progress. Because it's so funny, isn't it, that people can underestimate how far they've come.
I am notoriously guilty of that, of always thinking, okay, next. But when I sit down and I do the reflection, I'm like, oh my goodness, look how far I've actually come. So that's a big work on for me. And another reason why I put that in here, that even if 2020 was not your favorite year, there were some really powerful learnings that you can take away from it that will make you better in the next year. And I said 2020, I meant 2021. I skipped year.
That's because of what's gone on. Honestly, we've all forgotten, just forget the last 2 years. Just forget it. We're all a little bit confused as to what year we're in and when we last did things, because it's all a bit of a mess. It's mucked up with our time, right? We don't know. And I think that is so important. And that's definitely something that I haven't done. So that is definitely something that I need to do, is to reflect. And again, I suppose that's going back to this whole, we don't celebrate enough wins. We don't give ourselves a pat on the back, again, because we're supposed to be humble, and that's not being. But we should. It's been a tough couple of years for everybody. I know for some more than others.
Right.
However, we've got through it, haven't we? Come on, we're nearly there. Please. We're coming out the end of it. And so it really is a really good thing to actually look back and give yourself a pat on the back. Well done. We're here. We're moving ahead, and it's a great thing to reflect, and then that helps with the okay. So now, where do we want to be this time next year?
Oh, yeah.
And I know every coach says the same thing. However, to all the listeners, how many of you actually do it? Because there's a huge gap between knowing and doing something. You can hear it every single year. You've got to write your goals down. But do you do it?
Yep.
And it's so, so important. And it is the step one. Again, I suppose that's putting it out there to the universe. That's your decision. You've made the decision. That is where you're going to be this time next year. Love that. So that's your website. You did mention earlier about a Facebook group.
Yeah. So if they go to reclaiminglightgift.com, we'll have your email. We'll send you a welcome. You'll get your journal, and then we'll send you an invite to join our group on Facebook. And so you'll start seeing how to connect with me in lots of different ways. So absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what are you? So if you have reflected over what's gone on in the last year yourself?
This has been, so my word for 2021, I pick a word at the end of every year for the following year, and my word was expand. So last December, I picked the word expand, and I thought, man, I have no idea. I mean, I'd love to just expand my business, right? That was my thought. While I'm sitting here 11, almost 12 months later, I am almost divorced. I'm raising 5 kids as a single mom now. I've moved across the country. I've bought a house by myself. I've quadrupled my business income. I have brought in 4 full-time team members. Like, I've massively expanded who I am and my capacity to serve and show up, not just for my children, for myself, for the world. Like, so.
Wow. Superwoman.
Yes, this has been just a great growth year for me. And I mean, it hasn't come without heartache, of course, but the learning and the takeaways have been incredible. So, yeah.
Good for you. Well, yeah, first of all, congratulations. 5. Oh my goodness. I'm having
I know. It's a party all the time.
I'm having heart palpitations just thinking about it. I mean, it's almost like I've lost one. One's moved in with her boyfriend, so I haven't had her around this year. So I've got one still with me now.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm so excited. I really think, yeah, for me too, 2021 has been absolutely amazing. So looking forward to everything opening just back up and getting back to, hopefully, I still live in hope, we are going to get back to normality in 2022, and hopefully a little bit more travel. Hopefully things, I know I'm being maybe a little bit optimistic. Depending on
like I was supposed to come to the UK this year. That was my big bucket list. Turn 40, go to the UK, have this beautiful magical trip, and so 2022, I'm waiting for
put off. It's just been put off. That's all. I mean, I'm similar. Last year I was so yeah, it's the year before, because I was just starting a speaking career, and I was going to be speaking in Austin, Texas. That went out the window. Then this year we were supposed to be in Florida at the end of August. That didn't happen either, did it? We weren't allowed in. So yeah, me too. I'm hoping that next year things will actually happen, because I haven't been out of the country at all.
I know.
So here we go. We're there. Right. Yes. So new horizon. So what's your word for 2022?
I don't know. I actually rent a hotel at the end of December overnight away from my kids. And I just really get into this space of just creation and thinking forward, and where do I want to be in a year? What would it look like? What would it take for me to get there? And not just in business, but in my health and in my relationships and all of those things. And so I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous because this word was big, and I don't know what the universe has for me for 2022.
So, you got to think bigger. You got to think outside the box. Well, how wonderful. And that is again, that is coming back to that whole, we need space. We need quiet, no distractions, to actually just calm and listen to that inner voice that has our best interest at heart. And I love that you actually take yourself away by yourself to have that moment, because I'm sure with 5 children it's a little bit difficult to be able
Remember when I said locking the bathroom door was a big deal? I mean it.
You were not joking. That is your time. You can still hear stuff. So I get it, wanting to go into a hotel and taking it another level, and just time to just, and I think that is massive for anybody out there, to have that moment where you can just, no distractions, no TV, no noise, just listen. Ask yourself the question, because it is you that's going to give you the answer, but it's whatever you want to call it, higher self, whatever. It's all the same thing,
right?
To come up with the answer, and that is by far the better way to do things, rather than trying to actually stay up here in critical thinking mode that we're talking about earlier, which is the very male way of doing things. But that's where trying to take control of everything rather than allowing.
And feeling and being energy.
There you go. Love that. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you. Love your story. And I'm sure, who knows what's in store for you next year. Only bigger and better,
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. And to the listeners out there, I will be back next week with a Coffee with Karen. Bye.
Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.